Thank you so much, Josh. It's a pleasure to sit with you. Friends, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you. I was looking at the chat and I was looking at your names and where you're zooming from, and it's something I never ever want to take for granted. The delight of sitting with fellow Jews who want to work the way inward, to meet themselves, to take time in the midst of the day, to center, to reflect, to learn, to connect, and to do this holy work of making ourselves better, tikkun midot, as Rabbi Josh was saying. I want to share that I'm coming today with heartbreak, in a way that I cannot pretend I'm not coming with. And so I'm sharing with you this as part of my teaching, that this is life, that this is part of life, that we move through things or things move through us, and we come as we are with what is. I heard today that the son of a friend from Paris who was 2 years old died. And it's not only just a terrible accident that he drowned, it's also that the mother was very concerned. She felt that her ex-husband was dangerously negligent, and she had been really fighting with justice to have a very speed trial priority to ask that he wouldn't be alone with the children. And the tribunal was supposed to give their answer next week. And in the meantime, the dad took the children, and this little boy, Otto Moshe Ben Ava, died. He's supposed to be buried today. So I want to dedicate this to the Aliyah of his Neshama. So I'm coming with that today. And I am coming with a deep awareness, shezeh shayach, as we say in Hebrew, that this too belongs. That this too is part of the great economy of the world, of the huge space that Life Source holds for us. And I am aware that at this very moment that there is this tragedy for me, for my friend, for some of us, at this very moment, someone is being born, someone is falling in love, someone is getting married, someone is having the most beautiful day of their lives, and that all of this belongs. So welcome to you as you are, no matter what you're going through right now, because it all belongs. And actually, my teaching today is connected to this in a very surprising way. It's not my teaching; it's the Kedushat Levi. I'm just passing through the Kedushat Levi, Yitzhak Levi Berdichev, a very, very dear teacher. Each year, when I teach Parashat HaShavua, when I teach the weekly portion of the Torah, I focus on the teachings, the commentary of one Hasidic master. And this year, we're working with the Kedushat Levi. So for my students, those who learn with me, I'm happy for you because we studied Parashat Chukat yesterday, 2 days ago. And so today it's the part on Parashat Balak, because this Shabbat we're going to be reading in Diaspora Chukat Balak together. This is in Parashat Balak. And it's actually a profound teaching that before I knew about the tragic news really resonated with me on another level. And it's about our relationship with the divine, our relationship with our own intuition, and what it means to really listen. So everything about my offering to you today is very personal, okay? And I'm also coming in a kind of altered state. So I'm sharing that with you. So I'm going to share my soul sheet. No, before I do that, just the story, the context, okay? We have a prophet who is not a Jewish prophet. His name is Balaam. And the king of Moab comes and calls him to ask him to go on a mission to curse Israel, Bnei Israel, because he's afraid of them, right? I know you know the story, many of you, perhaps some of you don't. And he says, I will not do anything that the God of Israel doesn't tell me to do, that God doesn't tell me to do. So he waits, and in his dream, he's visited, and God tells him, do what I tell you. You will do what I tell you. You will say what I tell you to say. But he says, go with these men. And so he decides to go. So up until then, the Jewish tradition tends to be very severe with Balaam, and I never really understood why. It's something I actually like to push back against. because to me, I always saw him as actually very faithful, very, very yashar, very righteous in a way, that he said, I will do only what God tells me, and he does so. Now what happens is that he sets on his way to this mission, knowing that he will do only what God tells him to do. He's on his donkey, and suddenly the donkey stops and refuses to move forward, right? And so he strikes the donkey 3 times, like you would do with your horse at the time, or maybe today the way you would push on your car if it wouldn't work, right? But the donkey saw that there was an angel, right, blocking the way. Only he, Balaam, didn't see. And this is the beginning of that commentary that I'm about to share with you from the Kedushat Levi, okay? That he's questioning, why is the angel mad at Balaam? The angel says, why did you strike your she-ass 3 times? Why is he mad at him? Because he couldn't see the donkey and he had committed to follow God's word, right? So let's see what the Kedushat Levi is doing with this. He's saying, okay, he's starting with a question, as I said, okay? And he's putting this into context. That God said to Balaam, Lech im ha'anashim, go with these people, okay, go with the men. Ve'ach et hadavar asher edaber elecha, oto ta'aseh. But only just the word that I speak to you, shall you do. So basically here, Balaam is instructed to listen to God's instruction, right? To listen to divine instruction. Now, what is happening is that after that, he doesn't receive straightforward instructions. No words are being said. There is just an angel barring the way, an angel blocking the way, right? And what is the Kedushat Levi telling us about this? One who truly seeks to do the will of Life Source, when they encounter something unusual, they have to reflect upon it. Mitbonen shebeze mitzvah lo Hashem mitzaveh, slicha lo Hashem itbarach. Ech yaseh. We have an invitation to lehitbonen. Lehitbonen is to contemplate, to reflect, to do some inquiry, okay? When you see something that is unusual, pause and wonder if that might not be a mitzvah, as in an indication, an instruction, okay? Mitzvah in the very literal sense of the term. And then he repeats himself. If a person is engaged in some matter and suddenly an unexpected and extraordinary event occurs, he should consider that perhaps it is God's will that he not proceed with that action. And so I can share with you that my life is dedicated to, I'm going to try to say it without sounding, grandiose, but in a very truthful way. I'm doing my best, and I'm not doing so well, but I'm really sincerely doing my best. My life is dedicated to being an Eved Hashem, to serving Life Source and to serving in joy. That's what I'm about. And a lot of my spiritual practice, when we talk about meditation and mindfulness practice, it's about listening within, right? In order to become more aware of what's alive within us, right? Seeing our thoughts, seeing our emotions, and etc. But then in a relationship to the divine, a lot of my orientation is to make myself receptive so that I can be guided. I want to be guided, and I know that there is guidance that comes to us. And it's only up to us to be receptive or not. And what fascinates me when I think about it sometimes is, most of us, God doesn't speak directly with words to us. It's very rare to receive a message like we see in the Chumash, in the books of Moses, or in the Tanakh, that, we will receive verbal instructions from the divine. And that's one of the things I love about this teaching, is that in a way it's a very clever way of anticipating what today in psychology we call nonverbal communication. The angel blocking the way is God's nonverbal communication to Balaam. And so I pay a lot of attention to details and to events in my life. Is something blocking? Is something not fluid? Maybe I should pause. Maybe it's an indication that not this way, maybe this way. And then I redirect myself. And when things are aligned, it feels fluid, right? Has it been your experience, anyone here? That you felt sometimes that if something, you're trying, you really want this to work, and somehow it just doesn't work. And then sometimes you've decided, okay, I'm going to stop insisting. Maybe it just means it's not meant to be that. And I'm just going to shift, right? Like they say in the world of startups, I'm just going to pivot, right? Or like Ross when he's moving the couch, pivot, right? A slight movement. And then when you felt that you were aligned and that you were in the right place, right? Things open. I think I'll stop here for now about this. I have a very concrete example as of today of such an event where I tried something 3 times. I tried a payment for something and it didn't work in a way that is not normal. And I just said to myself, maybe I should pause. Maybe I should just pause and wonder if this is the right thing to do, to book this thing this way. And so I want to invite us to meditate right now. And we're going to start with a period of what the Rebbe Mipiazetzno calls hashkata, just quieting, just being there with the body in order to enable our minds to quiet. And then to do some hitbonenut, some reflection, okay, to do some inquiry about a situation recent or current in our lives where we feel that there is an angel bearing the way, maybe blocking the way. When we feel something is just not, and have we listened or have we not listened? Have we done this slight readjustment and redirection, or do we yet need to do it for ourselves? Okay. So let's sit, my dears. I want to invite you to adjust your posture, to kind of shift the gaze inward now as we're closing our eyes. If closing your eyes feels not comfortable, you can keep them open, simply gazing down at your feet at the floor. The idea here is simply not to engage visually outwardly, not to engage in the way we usually engage with the world, but to meet our experience, our inner life, the divine, from beyond the physical senses. Meeting my aliveness, I actually love to close my eyes and to just feel my breath as if I didn't have a brain. I'm part of those, and maybe you might relate to that, who has a habit and tendency to leave a lot in the mind. I was kind of conditioned this way, and I don't think the Western school system helps really get out of the brain and the mind and the head. And so coming back to my body, kind of shifting the center of attention of my being towards my heart, towards my belly. I want to invite you to breathe deeper for just a couple of breaths, and then to allow your breath to flow at its own pace. And as you take these couple of deeper breaths, inviting the weight of the body to fully relax into the chair, the cushion, the floor. Just checking in with your own body. Are there any places of constriction? And can you invite more space, more kindness, more softness around it? Don't try to change it. Simply invite softening. Sometimes for some of us, it's the jaw. Sometimes it's the upper back. Sometimes it's the belly or the chest. And then choose an anchor for presence. It's not the end goal of the meditation, it's just a way of staying present in the body and not drifting away in thought. And that anchor may be the feeling of your hands meeting your thighs, the sensation of warmth. It might be the sensation of your breath in your nostrils or in your belly. Just choose one and be there. And you're not going to stay there. Your mind is going to take you in the past, in memories of the past, or to the future. And that's part of the experience. That's very natural. But simply when it is so, just remember to come back to presence, to your body. For now, we do just that. That's the quieting practice, the first part of it, of the Esh Kodesh. Where are you? And if you were in the thoughts, just coming back to the body with joy and gladness, because you just awakened from the trance of thoughts. Is it just coming back home to the body, to here and now? Taking a beautiful breath in. Out. Hitbunenut, contemplation, as in reflection, inquiry. Has there been recently, or is there now, a situation where you feel something is blocked, something doesn't move through? Have you listened to it? Have you been trying to just keep insisting in the same direction, hitting the same wall over and over again? Have you already made the shift and paused and said, maybe it's an angel of God telling me don't continue here? Listen, that's a message. Events are messages from the divine. And so if you haven't listened yet, could you make yourself attentive? Could you lend an ear to the messages of the divine to you through what's happening in your life? And I offer my full presence, my intention, and maybe asking help from God if I find it hard to listen, to be receptive, and to make the shift for the last minute of this seat. We take together a beautiful breath in, a beautiful breath out. Thanking each other for sitting with us and blessing each other that we can see the angels in our way, that we can see the doors that close, as popular wisdom says, as other windows that open, or rather seeing the doors that close as blessings, as redirections, And then can we bless each other that we may look just to the side and see the other door or the other window that is wide open waiting for me. Let's take a beautiful breath in, out. Let's get ready to say Kaddish with Rabbi Josh, and I want to invite whoever wants to say Kaddish for the Tinok Moshe ben Ava, who just left this world.
Thank you, Mira. Thank you, everybody. If you are remembering somebody today, we invite you to share their name in the chat. And Harry's going to put the text of the Mourner's Kaddish on our screen for us. Thanks to Harry for holding down the back end today. And you're welcome to unmute and join me in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabba, Uma Divra, Shivate, Vyamish Malchutei, Hayechon, Vyamechon, Chaye, Dechol, Beit Israel, Bizman Karis V'Yamru, Amen. Hey Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Le'olam Olam, Le'olam. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitdar, V'yit'ale, V'yithalal, Shmei, Barichu. Eila, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tzata, V'nechemata, Randa Alma, Amen. Hey Shlama Rabba, Mim Shemaya, L'chaim, Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yivru, Amen. Shalom Bimama, V'hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei
Amen. Amen.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll just go ahead and remute. Hope you can stay with us if you need to leave. We wish you tzedchem l'shalom, farewell, and hope you can come back and join us tomorrow or whenever you can. It'll be good to have you. If you have a question today, our usual rule here is if you can put the word question in all caps before your question, that helps us to see it. Also, you are very invited and welcome to respond to other people's comments. Just we ask you to exercise shmirat hadibur, mindful speech, and so just be mindful of generally trying to speak in the first person about your own experience, and also fixing, advising, saving, or correcting is a good rule to follow. So thank you. So if you have questions, we'd love to have them, and you can just put all caps question beforehand. So Mira, thank you so much for that Torah of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, and for that practice. And the label, I think that's an answer to your question. It was, I think there were two that I heard. One was Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, and that was in the source sheet. The other, I think you also mentioned the Piazetzner with his Hashkata practice, his quieting practice. So those are two. But particularly, it was just such a beautiful and simple teaching today about taking a lesson from the experience of Bilam, and his donkey is able to see it. Everybody else is able to see it, and he doesn't see it. I'm reminded of a friend of mine who, years after I'd become a rabbi, we had gone to college together, and she said to me, everybody in college knew that you were going to become a rabbi, I was the last person to know. Like, we all saw it. I was like, I didn't know, but I guess everybody else figured that out. So sometimes we're the last to know. Sometimes it's about just like letting, like you said, you need to like stop forcing something, and oftentimes something else opens up in that way. And so, thank you so much for that. It was a beautiful, beautiful teaching. Already had a number of comments. Wow. Okay. A number of comments that came through here, and I see this question from Rachel: how to know when fear is in the way and it is meant to be moved through rather than a specific angel helping to guide us elsewhere?
Yeah,
That's a great question, Rachel. What
that's a
do you
great
want to say,
question.
Mira? Yeah.
You know, to me, that's actually quite straightforward. The difference is this: when fear is in the way, I'm not striking my donkey to move forward. I'm actually running backwards. When fear is in the way, I really do not want to move forward. I'm actually blocked. The situation here is rather when I'm insisting and I keep trying, and like my will is like, no, my will is very clear, and I keep hitting the same wall, but I keep going back there. So it's actually very, very different, right? When fear is in the way, I don't need to make an effort to move forward. The problem is that I don't want to move forward. So it's actually almost the opposite question. Now, if you're asking me how do you move the fear out of the way, that's another question. I can say a word on this if you'd like. It's a teaching from one of my teachers, Adyashanti, who is a non-duality teacher. And he said something very interesting about it, is that so we know, there's a saying in popular culture that the only way beyond, the only way past is through, right? The only way past grief, the only way past fear, right, is through. What does it mean? It means that I can't avoid, right? And that I actually have to move through the fear, or perhaps rather to let the fear move through me, which means I need to agree to taste it, to taste the discomfort. So up until now, that was not the teaching of Adyashanti. The teaching of Adyashanti that I find helpful is kind of deconstructing, is kind of like quite challenging the belief we have that I can see the fear, I have a rational mind and I am going to just push through and I'm just going to go and feel all the feelings. But actually, sometimes it's too unbearable. Sometimes it's not even possible. The system is going to shut down. The system is going to act out. If it's beyond my capacity to regulate, it's actually not healthy. And so I think his teaching on this is very helpful, which is have just a little taste. Take a time, it's like instead of going and throwing yourself in like the deep waters, just dip your toe and pause and stop there and feel just a little bit, and then wait, go back, retreat to your comfort zone. And then the next time, so it's taming le'at. And I think it's much more efficient than to try to like bully ourselves through our fears. So I know that's not the question you asked, but I guess that's the question I heard behind your question, is how do we move through fear? I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, thank you. There was another question from Bev here. She says, the donkey appears very important to me, a being that was always with him and provided him the ability to move, like a part that understands what comes through the self or soul. Are there different ways of listening within to soul, to parts, etc.?
I don't know what is IFS, if you want to write this, or maybe just,
Right.
I don't know what is IFS.
No, I that's why I skipped over it. I wasn't sure exactly. Right.
Listen, yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing in your question.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I think it's a great question. I actually don't think that there are different ways of listening. I think we should listen to our bodies the same way we listen to God and the same way we listen to our child. And that means being willing to receive a message that is not the one we wanted. So it's again brings us back to like, it's willing to be uncomfortable. Sometimes my body is going to tell me things I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that I need more sleep. I don't want to hear that I can't eat, spicy foods or aubergines. Ashkenazi stomachs, put your hand up. Okay. It's the same with my partner or my child, or many times what is coming to me is not necessarily what I would have expected or invited or wanted. Now, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to deny? Am I going to push back? Am I going to justify, rationalize, and kind of like try to do away with what's so my bottom line is this: no, there are no different ways of listening, whether it's your donkey, your part, the whole thing. It's just availability, humility, love, which is, it just comes back to humility and love, really. And humility, I think, is key, and love, I mean, it goes together, but it's like making space for the other, and sometimes the other is going to be my body or my psyche or my child or my friend or my partner, right? And it really means making space for what's coming and speaking to me.
Mm-hmm. But clarify that IFS was internal family systems.
Yeah,
right?
well,
So
there you
part
go.
within those family systems, right? And so how do we listen to how those are functioning? Yeah, and it seems like she was satisfied with the answer. That's good. Thanks, Pip. Yeah, Patricia notes here the window of tolerance needs to be cracked a little before the door opens. I'm reminded of, it might be Reb Levi Yitzchak. I forget who. Someone has a teaching about that's actually part of the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, is the leaving from Egypt, is that why did they need to go through this whole process, right? Because, the metaphor is somebody who's been like inside a dark room for, days or weeks, and imagine, for centuries now, and then they get brought out into bright daylight, it'll be completely overwhelming. And so you need to, open up the aperture, slow, little by little. And so similarly, right, with our own practice, and the point that you're talking about is, we might want to throw ourselves completely into something that we're like, oh, this is going to transform me, but our system actually hasn't built up the strength to receive that yet, and so we have to sort of titrate towards it.
Yeah, I just want to react on one of the comments I'm seeing, that someone wrote the window of tolerance, Patricia, needs to be cracked a little before the door opens.
Right.
So
right.
I want to suggest perhaps something different. Yes, whether we want it or not, life is going to crack us open. We're about to enter the period where this is going to be our spiritual practice. But what gets cracked open are our defense mechanisms, our ego, our heart, right? Cracked open. The window of tolerance, I actually am not sure it's healthy that it be cracked open. I think what happens is that it becomes wider, but it's not something that I get to do. It happens by itself. The more I spend time with a lot of kindness and self-compassion, with a bearable discomfort, the more that window is going to widen. People who are traumatized, for instance, or in post-trauma, their window of tolerance is very, very narrow, okay? So I'm not sure I would go with the language of cracking open the window of tolerance, because the window of tolerance is a fact. It's not my being. It's a fact, okay? And by definition, if it's cracked, it means I'm beyond my window of tolerance. And if I'm beyond my window of tolerance, then I flipped into something that is not manageable. So I would say more that when we practice, we learn to dwell in bearable discomfort, in tolerable discomfort, and that widens the window of tolerance. But I don't get to decide. It happens by itself when it's ready. That's what I want to suggest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, and Patricia clarifies that right, through a gentle, I think you practice, right?
Exactly.
Not
Yeah,
force, right? Yes, exactly.
exactly.
I think you're probably saying the same thing. It might have come through. Cheryl has one more question here. In your experience in meditation, can God speak to us in images?
Oh, yeah.
I would say yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The extent that I experienced that.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I think what's beautiful actually is to be kashuv kaze, to be attentive and to really see, because sometimes the messages are so subtle. It's very easy to miss them, or to think, oh, I'm making it up, or no, it's like, oh, hey, oh, I think it's telling me, I think life is telling me something right now. And sometimes it's an image, sometimes it's an event, sometimes it's a sign. It's so many things.
Mm.
Sometimes it's seeing, I don't know, my partner, one day when we started dating, he saw a fox. He lives in Buchdahl, which is a small village at the outskirts of Yerushalayim, and he saw a fox, and he was like, "Oh, that's my how do you call it, totem animal?" And so it's a
My
sign.
spirit
The
animal.
spirit
Yeah, or
animal.
something.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Uh-huh.
it can be so many things, but it's up to us to read the signs or not, to read, to hear, to listen.
Okay. Well, so a lot, a lot of questions coming in all at once, and we don't have much time left. Yeah, let me just see here.
Maybe
I
the
guess
last one.
the last one, does Judaism see synchronicity as a spiritual way of seeing or perceiving that it's going on all the time, and when we are open to it, we see, even if even if we don't know what it means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And I think that's actually the
yeah,
teaching of our parasha. Only he wasn't able to see it until he was told. But that's the
right.
teaching of our parasha. Absolutely.
Or I think of, the Talmud uh memorably like says that there's always this almost radio transmitter, right, that's coming out from Sinai, that God that the divine voice is always going forth. The Baal Kol is calling out from Sinai. We have to listen for it, right? That we have to attune ourselves to it. Most of the time, those of us who still remember trying to tune a radio, we're not necessarily tuned in, but that's why we practice this, to try to actually hit the frequency. So
Yeah.
that's why they call it a receiver. That in English, that the radio was called a
And,
receiver.
yeah. And by the way, that's why the Jewish mystical tradition is called Kabbalah,
Kabbalah,
receptivity, because that's what
exactly.
we're invited to be,
Beautiful.
receptors,
Mira,
receivers.
thank you so much as always for being with us. Thank you to Harry. Thank you to everybody for a lovely chat here, always full of wisdom. And if you want to save the chat, by the way, there's 3 dots at the top of the chat box. You can click on it. It'll save it. And so you can, if there's things you want to review, more opportunities to practice with Mira coming up. And thank you to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, same time and channel.
Thank
Until
you,
then, be well,
everyone.
everyone. Take care.
Josh. Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Bye-bye.